Hello friends, welcome back to another tumbler tutorial. We're going full spring with this one. We've got some florals, we've got bright colors, and we're gonna try a brand new technique that I've never done before, and we're gonna do it on a non-straight tumbler. Doing anything with pattern vinyl on a tumbler that is not straight up and down will pose its own challenges, just totally separate from this design that we're going to attempt, but I've had this idea in my head for a while, and I'm not sure if anybody has done it before, so if you've seen somebody do this, I'm not claiming this as my own, but if nobody has ever done it before, then yes, I'll claim it as my own. But we're gonna do this kind of like 4-quadrant design with a really bright, colorful spring theme. So I really hope that you enjoy it. If you do, make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. It really helps my channel and the video out, so I appreciate that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon right next to it so you get notified every single time I post a brand new video. That will ensure that you don't miss any of my new tutorials. Okay, I think that's it. I really hope you like this video. Let's go!
We are going to get started with our 30-ounce traditional from Craft Haven. As you can see, I've already got one section of this vinyl done. We did a Zoom craft with me hangout thing in my Patreon group, and my initial plan with this pattern vinyl on this cup was to do a full wrap. And after getting that far on my cup, I immediately was like, nope, can't do this. So I might as well try this technique or idea that I've been wanting to try for a long time. So what we're going to do is kind of a 4 quadrants type of design here. So I've got that piece of pattern vinyl that goes on the top half of the cup from side to side, so it's covering half of our cup on the top. And now I'm going to tape off half of our cup, trim off any excess vinyl, and then place another piece of vinyl on the opposite side of the cup, now at the bottom, so they're kind of diagonal from each other on the cup. So after I taped off the 2 halves of the cup, I'm now taking a piece of painter's tape on I'm using the bottom edge of the vinyl we already have placed. I'm basically just placing it in the middle of the cup, but I want it to go, this bottom piece, up over the taper because this top piece I cut a little bit short of the taper, so I want to make sure that these are actually meeting up diagonal from each other and that we don't have a gap in the middle. So I'm taping off all the way around the cup and using that bottom border of my first piece of vinyl as my guide. So now I'm going to just trim off my excess vinyl here, and the way that I'm going to apply this to this tapered area of our cup is a little bit different. It's a little unconventional, but it ended up working out perfectly fine, especially with a busy floral pattern like this. So what I did, I took off the entire sheet of the backing, and then I placed the vinyl down on my cup from the middle outwards, and I'll end up trimming off that entire like first inch of vinyl. You can see here I'm kind of just slicing the edges and leaving a little bit of that middle attached. I ended up just removing that entire piece entirely. It just made it easier to apply later. So basically what I'm trying to do here is get this vinyl to curve without crinkling or wrinkling or anything like that. So I'm really working it around this taper, and trimming off that top piece allowed me to get this bottom portion down straight and then work with a smaller piece around that taper, if that makes sense. Obviously, if you were going to do this on a straight edge tumbler, like a skinny or something that didn't have this curve right in the middle of the cup, this whole process would be a lot easier, but I wanted to show you how to do it on this tapered surface to show you that it can be done. You don't have to always use a straight edged cup for things like this. So I finished off the bottom, as you can see there. I just cut off the excess the same way I normally do. And now I'm going back into this little sliver of vinyl around our taper. And because this is a busy floral pattern, you're not going to see that seam where I sliced it off. It's going to meet right up under epoxy, especially. You're not going to be able to tell that I even broke this into multiple pieces. So I'm using my heat gun to kind of help me just adhere this vinyl and stretch it and mold it where I need it to go. Just be sure that when you're doing this, you're not stretching or pulling too much. You don't want to distort the image of your flowers. You just want to give them a little tiny bit more elasticity so that you can get them where they need to go. So here's what the cup looks like with our vinyl. There is one side of the cup that doesn't meet up perfectly. There's a little bit of a gap, but that's the side we'll end up putting our decal, so it's totally fine. So now I'm going to go back in with my tape and tape off all of those vinyl sections. I want to now glitter the stainless steel portions of our cup, so the other two quadrants. So I want to make sure that when I'm taping, I'm trimming off any edges to make sure that we don't have any areas of stainless steel that aren't covered with tape. I want all of these to get glittered. So I'm just cutting small pieces of tape, trimming them off with my craft knife, and making sure that we've got everything except those stainless steel areas covered. I'm going to spray paint this with Lemongrass from Rustoleum, just a really pretty bright yellow. And once that's dried, I'm going to go in with my Crystalac glitter glue as my adhesive. And we're going to do a kind of double layered glittered look here. This was something I thought like might work, and it ended up actually working really well. I was really happy with that. So the first color we're going to take is Lil Chick from PDB. This is a fine, really bright yellow, and I'm going to cover all of those sections, including the bottom, with this glitter fully. And then I'm going to let this dry completely, at least 2 hours, just like always. And then I'm going to remove all of my tape. You don't have to remove your tape at this point. You can wait until we do the second coat of glitter. I just wanted to get it off there so I could kind of see what I was doing. So once that dried, I went in with another coat of the Crystalac glitter glue. And now what we're going to do is take a chunky yellow. I'm going to be using Bliss from PDB. It's a really pretty chunky iridescent kind of yellow. And I'm going to sprinkle this very lightly all over those same sections. So I'm not going in with like multiple coats of this or really sprinkling it to make sure I get full coverage, because what I want is for a little bit of that Lil Chick glitter to peek through and kind of brighten up this Bliss color. So you'll see once the glitter dries how bright it got magically once the glitter glue dried. And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted kind of like a bright Bliss. So now once that dried, I went in and sealed everything up with another coat of the glitter glue, and now I'm ready to go in with my first coat of epoxy. So I'm taking about 30 milliliters of Artistry Epoxy Fast Set here, and I'm going to seal up those vinyl sections first, and then go in with the epoxy on all of the glittered sections. I let that cure about 2 hours, and then I added another coat of epoxy, and once that one cured, I did all of my sanding. And then I added another coat of epoxy on top of that. So my cup is totally smooth at this point. If you can get away with just doing your sanding and then not having to go in with another coat of epoxy, you can totally do that. I'm just not a huge fan of sanding. I would rather do another epoxy coat. So what I'm doing here is taking my little stripes and I'm going to basically frame out each of my quadrants. So my red stripes that I'm placing down first, I made 11.5 inches long by 0.2 inches wide. And I'm going to place these up and down the cup and then horizontally around our pattern vinyl as well. And once I've got that down, I'm going to take some textured champagne gold metallic vinyl, and I cut these at 0.1 inches wide, so they're half the width of the red ones we just put down. And I'm going to lay those down in the middle of our red stripes just to give them a little bit of a more interesting look and kind of make everything a little less red. Okay, so once all of our vinyl striping is down, we're ready to go in with another coat of epoxy. As you can see right there is where things don't quite line up perfectly, so that's where our decal will go. So after this coat of epoxy, I'm going to go in with my decal. That coat, by the way, was about 15 milliliters. We really just want to smooth out that vinyl striping so it doesn't interfere with this decal application. So I've got a floral bundle here that I cut out on my silhouette. I got this from Creative Fabrica. I will have it linked down below. And what I'm going to do first is place this down right on that cross, as you can see here. And I'll be totally honest, getting this on straight and flat on this tapered surface was pretty difficult, but you just have to kind of maneuver the vinyl around. Remember, you can totally mess up your transfer tape as long as your decal lays down properly. So you can see that I'm like tearing little pieces off of my transfer tape. I'm kind of pushing things down, removing the transfer tape as I go. Getting this decal on here, all in all, probably took me like 10 minutes. So really take your time and just make sure that you can get that as flat and as smooth as possible. Then right on top of that, I'm going to layer my main decal. I made this SVG that says "Live Life in Full Bloom." And so for the offset, we're going to use the same champagne gold textured metallic that we used in our striping. And I'm going to lay down my offset word by word to make sure that I can get it perfectly centered and lie right on that cross where you can see that it doesn't quite line up right. Part of this decal application was a little bit strategic so that we can cover up where our vinyl didn't quite line up right. So then once I've got the offset down, I'm going to go in with the main decal here. I just used regular white vinyl for this one. And once I was done layering all of that, I went right into my final coats of epoxy. This did take 3 coats of epoxy to be totally smooth. That decal is pretty thick, so I wanted to make sure that it was totally smooth. So I did end up doing 3 coats of epoxy. So just epoxy your cup until it's smooth, and once you're done with that, your cup will be all finished. So here is the final result. I am really happy with how this turned out. I'm so glad that this technique actually worked out. I think I do want to try it on a straight edge tumbler and maybe a different color scheme or design, just to see how much easier it is than doing it on a tapered tumbler. But this was really fun to put together, and I'm really happy with the results. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope it inspires you to create one of your very own. And if you do, please make sure to tag me in your photos at Made by MANIANDMAL, because I always love to see what you guys come up with. So thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Okay, love you. Bye.
Or straight-sided tumbler. We're doing another. It's a spring vibe faux show. Faux show? Who do I think I am?